Okay. This is what, a half an hour or an hour?
Half an
Or
hour. Half an hour, yeah.
wow, it's gonna
Yeah.
go fast.
Mm-hmm.
I can just fill a half an hour on your first question, and then I don't have to get any difficult questions.
You're awesome. All right, cool. We are live. We are live. Let's do this.
Okay.
Okay, everyone. Welcome to Lights, Camera, Live. I am here with my good friend Ross Brand from Livestream Universe. Say hi, Ross.
Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey. I know.
And that's the name of your page, too. Hey, Stephanie Lou.
It is. Yeah. Hey, Stephanie was just one of those. It's a long running joke, to be honest with you. When I had first started working in the agency, everyone would always ask me questions, and they were just always like, "Hey, Stephanie." I was like, "Hey, Stephanie.com," and then that was it. I've just had "Hey,
I figured
Stephanie."
just Stephanie Lou was taken. And
Oh
so
no. So well,
you
consider
actually could have had your name as your
very
Twitter
true.
handle.
Yeah. No. Stephanie Lou. Stephanie Lou is my married name. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So by then, at that point, I was just already like, oh. You can't be an early adopter at that point. So, men, you have the upside in that you just, you get to keep your name and whatnot. So that's cool. That is cool.
Yeah, my name was taken.
Was it? Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
you're Ross Brand.
Yeah. And I didn't think at the time, like when I first got on social media, I wasn't thinking like be consistent. So when Ross Brand wasn't there on Instagram, I just Ross Brand one. So I Ross Brand on Twitter, but Ross Brand one on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That is so funny. All right. So, hey, you guys, we are here for Lights, Camera, Live. I have my good friend here, Ross Brand from Livestream Universe. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds to get settled in. It looks like I have Mark Watley. Hey, Mark. Nice to see you here. Go ahead and leave a comment. Would love to see what you're up to. We also have Beth Gutierrez. She's one of my good girlfriends. She was a previous friend of the show on Lights, Camera, Live, where she talked about event planning. So welcome, everyone. I am going to put my thing on mute. Okay, great. So, hey, you guys, welcome to the show. Ross Brand here is a really good friend of mine. I feel like you've been my BFF, my life coach when it comes to live streaming. You have Livestream Universe. You're the founder of it. I feel like when I first met you, you were all about rising tide lifts all boats because you are just constantly promoting everyone else's live stream. You have connections to everyone in the industry. Every time I talk to you, you are speaking at new conferences about live video. Like, you're blowing up. Congratulations.
Thank you. That's quite an introduction. I appreciate it. I was impressed the first time I saw your show at how well produced it was and how organized and how great a job you do with your notes and getting all the links in and promoting your guests and all that stuff. So I definitely have enjoyed sharing your stuff. And I was disappointed we didn't really get a chance to talk. At least we kind of saw each other from a distance at Summit Live,
Yeah.
but we have a chance now thanks to live streaming, which is something maybe we wouldn't have been able to do a few years ago, right?
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. But I mean, I feel like every time I saw you at Summit Live, you were just swarmed. Like, people would just always run up to you. And here I am, like, hi, Ross Brand.
You were a little shy. I didn't realize.
Yeah. Well, like I said, so I go to all the social media conferences here in San Diego, and I know all my friends here, all the agencies and whatnot, but you plucked me out of my comfort zone, and I was like, I don't know anyone. So yeah, I was super shy. That's for sure.
You're like, hi, Ross. And then I
Hi,
came
Ross,
looking for
bye.
you, like disappeared into the crowd.
Yeah, I just flurried out of there. I know. So silly, so silly. So, you guys, I'm super excited about this show because Ross is going to talk about how he was able to make the jump from being on-air radio personality, broadcasting, how he fell in love with live video because of Blab, and talk about that journey. And from there, we could pick his brain. I know there's many of you, like Mark Watley, I know that you're interested in live video. He actually just sent me an email yesterday, Ross, showing me his green screen and played the whole video of which background do you like? I was like,
Right.
but it's good. So, Ross, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I worked in radio for 10 to 12 years. I should really figure it out so I have the exact number down, but
How many times have
at
you been
least
doing this?
a decade, right? So I did that, and I was on air, and I did sports. I worked in a bunch of different markets and did everything from hosting to anchoring, reporting, some play-by-play of sports, all that kind of stuff. And I went on to do other things, and I figured I had stopped broadcasting, and that was okay. I had a great time, and had other interests and whatever. And I kept hearing about this Blab thing, right? People like, I knew what Periscope and Meerkat were, and the cell phone thing didn't really interest me. And then I kept hearing about Blab, and I'm like, what is this place that they're going to chat about it? All right, I'll
Yeah.
finally peer in. And I opened it up, and it was like talk radio heaven. And this was basically like, reminded me of what we did before, like on a college radio station or something, before it got, more professional, right? Where you had to have, commercial breaks and, sponsors and rules and a program director and schedules and all that stuff. And Blab was just people enjoying themselves and enjoying the conversation and connecting. And I thought people were really good at it, and they were really good at, hosting and interviewing and all that kind of stuff. And so after a few days, I was just like, wow, this is cool. This like reminds me of what it was like when I started out.
So you fell back in love again. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
but
good.
I didn't plan to go on camera or anything. I just wanted to share what people were doing. So I started a Twitter account, and I started tweeting out when people were having shows and stuff. And within a little over a week, I had like 500 people following that account. And I was like, okay, there's a pretty passionate community. Now, it hasn't grown like at that rate since then, right? It's it's a small but passionate community. It's growing.
Yes.
But it's just interesting that I got into it so quickly, right? Then I started a website, and it was like, okay, I can show off what people are doing on the website and stuff like that. And then I called in maybe to a couple of Blabs, and then it was over. Then I had to start hosting a show. And obviously, since then, the mission kind of changes, right? Because then it becomes about, instead of, I really started the show to promote the website, but ultimately it kind of flipped. And now the show is kind of what I'm doing, and now the website kind of
and now it's a part of you and your personal brand, and you are the Livestream Universe guy. And I remember when I was trying to describe you to everyone else, I was like, it's basically the TV guide for live streaming, because you know who's going to be on air, when, what time, and who they're talking to. And how do you keep all of that organized? I imagine that just takes a lot of legwork. Do you have a virtual assistant? Like, what's the deal?
Well, somebody was nice in the community. Rachel Moore. I don't know if you know her. Really dot social is Rachel, and she's like, okay, you need a Google form for this, right? And so she made this nice Google form, and I've since tweaked it a little bit, but basically stayed with what she did. And so I just have people enter their show information there, and it comes out into a spreadsheet with the date and time and all that kind of stuff. And then I have everybody send me a show card, that kind of features what they're doing, and tell me who their guest is and all that kind of stuff. And I also remember when people's shows are now after doing it for a while. So if somebody who's regularly on the show forgets to send me something or whatever, I can check in. But definitely having a form and having some deadlines makes it easier to get it done. And then the other thing I changed is I had been doing it 5 days a week and recording it, and then
where do you find the time? That's insane.
I don't sleep. I was doing it like between 12 and 2 in the morning.
Oh my gosh. I was actually up since 2 last night too. We have this whole daylight savings time, and I'm just like, I'm not tired.
Yeah. No, it's a change. And so I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to try. One day I was really busy, and this is just like a few weeks ago, and I cut it back to 3 days a week to have a little more time. Mm-hmm. And it's like Wednesday and Thursday are very busy days. Monday and Tuesday could be condensed into one update, and Thursday's update could contain Friday through Sunday. But Wednesday needed its own because everybody seems to do a show on Wednesday, and there's also a lot of shows on Thursday. So I put it to 3 days a week, and I was really busy one day, and I'm like, I don't have time to do multiple takes and edit stuff, edit video in and add a
Yeah.
music bed and all that stuff. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it live. And I found out it's not that different doing it live, other than, the music bed and a few things. And people seem to love it. And so rather than spending that time producing, I'll talk a little bit before I do the update. And then if people are hanging out, I'll stay on and chat with people or whatever. But it's freed up a lot of time doing it that way. And I always kind of did it as though it was live, right? I use Wirecast, which is a switching live streaming
Yep.
production software,
Yep.
and most people use it to go live, but I used it to record because it let me switch scenes just like I was live. So I recorded it as though it was live, right?
Yeah.
But it still gave me, if it wasn't tight, if there was a mistake or something, I could just go back and do it again or whatever. And now it is what it is, right? It's one take and it's done. And
Yeah, it starts to become like muscle memory. And plus
but
you have
people
the
love it. They love it when I mess up. So it's like,
isn't that the funniest thing? Like you always feel like you have to be 100% perfect, but then people actually like the fact when you flub, because it just makes you human, and it makes you so relatable, which is great. Hey, Claudia Sandoval is here. Hey, Claudia, nice to have you here. Bobo Furl, he says, hey, it looks like this is through Wirecast, and this is actually through OBS, you guys. You know, Ross has, Wirecast money. Wirecast money. Because how much is that? Like 400, 500?
it's about $500.
About $500.
for Wire.
Bobo, this is free. This is free.
Hey, the picture is really good. I just like looking on Facebook. The picture is really good from OBS.
You know why? Because it's us. It's you and I. So of course it's going to look good.
Well, I was trying to be modest.
Oh, no, there's no modesty around here. Why? How does it come through on Wirecast? Is it a little bit blurry or?
No, it's good. But I'm just saying, like, it's particularly good. I don't. It's time of day. It's maybe it's daylight savings time now. I got a little, or is it daylight savings or it's daylight
savings.
not savings?
It's daylight savings. Trust me, I know.
Okay.
My daughter doesn't know that it's daylight savings. So
I forget which one's with. It's the turn the clock forward one, and so it's light later, and maybe that has something to do with it because 7 o'clock is when I usually do my show, and in the East, and so it's not really dark out anymore. Other than the fact that it's been a blizzard all day.
Yeah, because you're in New Jersey. Yeah. It's funny because Claudia, Beth, and myself are here in San Diego, and it's like about like 80 degrees. So when everyone starts talking to me about blizzards, I'm just like, I have no idea. I have no idea what that is. Why do you put chains on your tires? So Ross, is live streaming now just everything that you do?
No.
What else do you do?
What's that?
What else do you do in terms of like
okay. So
your business?
I do some business consulting. I do HR. I help people with career development and branding and business growth and a lot of different stuff that deals with using social tools outside of just social media, right? How you can use it to build your brand and build your business and grow quickly and things like that. A lot of people I work with maybe were working in the corporate world where they didn't really need to use social media tools and things like that. They had a set position and now they're out in the job market or they've retired and they want a second career. And how do they build a brand and let people know? How do they connect? How do they network? All things that, if you were an executive since the 80s or whatever, you don't necessarily have had to think about, right? I mean, you may have, but you may not have. And, you had a lot of other things that, took you to where you are. And now you want to maybe work for a startup, or maybe you want to, I don't know, you were in a law firm and now you want to do something more on the entrepreneurial side. How do your skills translate and how do you get people to know about that? And so I help people with everything from LinkedIn profiles to, social media strategy and blogging and things like that. Most of the people aren't necessarily people that I'm going to say, okay, you should be live streaming. But for those who have an aptitude for it and an interest in doing it, it can definitely help them make connections very quickly if people in the niche where they want to go work in are on live streaming and not, live streaming tends to be very much a small kind of marketers and entrepreneurs and people like that. But depending on what you're going into, it's definitely an area that people should consider. But I'm kind of balanced about it, and I'm not somebody who says like everybody should
Yeah.
be doing it. So
But you
it's the
must
answer.
you must have like all of the cutting edge social media stuff because you have some amazing guests on your show. Like you'll have Joel Comm. I think you had Alex Kahn coming up or what?
Yeah, he's coming up just before you, I think, a few weeks before you
Yeah, it was
in
so
May.
it was so funny, you guys. Hey, Whitney, it's nice to see Whitney in here too. It was so funny because Ross was like, "Yeah, I should have you on the show." I was like, "Yeah, I'm totally down." And I was like, "When's your available?" He's like, "May." I was like, "It's March. How did you get booked so fast with guests? Are you the one that's reaching out to people, or are they coming to you?"
I get both. But I like to book ahead. Last year I booked ahead because I just wanted to make a statement like I'm going to be doing this for a while, right? Like I was, look, I'm committed to this. This is a new thing, whatever. I mean, wouldn't Blab die like in the middle of the summer or August or something? I still had people like who were guests on my show in December where the invite that I had sent them, the calendar thing said on Blab, and so I had booked like last year. I had booked by like May or whatever. I had the
Oh
whole
wow,
rest of the year pretty much booked. This year, I feel like I'm not booking that far ahead with just May because it's like I want to leave some space for everything's changing so fast, and
that's
what are the
very
topics
true.
going to be that we want to talk about and things like that. And who
That's
knows?
very
Maybe I'll
true.
tweak the show at some point or do
Well,
something different with it.
Well, here's one question that one of the viewers have. Claudia has. She says, "Who should be live streaming? Like, who do you think should be producing a live streaming show? Because Mark, for example, he has like this real estate company, and Claudia, she's a chef. She actually won MasterChef season 6. So it's nice to
Wow!
have her on here too. Um,
Congratulations.
yeah, and Whitney has a YouTube channel where she talks about life and how to balance life and work. Like, who should be live streaming right now?
Well, I don't know that anybody should be doing it, right? There's many different ways to reach an audience. There's many different ways to reach people who could be customers, or if you're looking for a job, people who could help you find the job, whatever. And if you enjoy doing it and you're good at it, or you feel that it's something, a skill set that you can develop, it's probably the fastest way to make connections with people and get to know them and have them, just as importantly, feel like they get to know you. So while you can reply to comments in a blog post, you can reply to messages on Twitter, and you can give talks in person and everything else, the ability to reach a larger number of people more quickly and have them feel like they get to know you and they're getting a little bit of your time through live
Agree.
streaming, that can be very effective, whether it's a chef answering questions about a recipe or about a restaurant, if they have a restaurant or a catering service, talking about something and giving some advice and providing some value, and then becoming the person that people think of
Yeah.
then when they need somebody with that service or whatever it is that that person is providing in that role. And I mean, real estate, I mean, taking somebody on a walking tour through a place, an open unit, a house, whatever, while they're live, actually answering questions from people who may be interested in it versus just a static post on one of the real estate sites
Yeah.
versus a blog post talking about what's great, or even versus a YouTube video, which will let you see the house, but then the person has to put a comment on, and then you have to check the comment, and
That's
there's
very
a
true.
lag, and
Yeah.
so this way the person can say, how many bathrooms are there? Two. Well, you're like, well, I need both of them to be full bathrooms. Can you show them? Yeah, right
Yeah.
here. Both of them are big. Both have full showers. Both, lots of closet space. Look at how big this,
Yeah.
I think it can only help you. And, I think it can also save you time, right? Because the person who's going to show up and be disappointed once they see something or ask something is kind of wasting your time and their time. So I think it helps both speed the process for those who are interested and save you some time in showing people properties that somebody's really not going
Very
to
true. And
end
what
up purchasing.
and Ross, what are your thoughts on if you're going to start live streaming, what should you use first? Because there's different levels of live streaming, right? Like level one would be from your smartphone, which Claudia does all the time. And I think she does a fantastic job with it. I think she has like a selfie stick and she just runs with it, right? She does a fantastic job with that. Other people, what would you say the next level would be? Would it be like a BeLive?
Um,
BeLive.tv?
you know, live streaming pros, the group like Loria Petrucci and whatever, they have actually a like 4 levels, and they call level 1 mobile live streaming. Level 2 is mobile with equipment. Level 3 is what we're doing, desktop, and then using some type of software, whether it's a platform like BeLive or something like OBS and Wirecast. And then 4 would be using actually a dedicated live streaming machine.
Oh,
So
wow.
you're not just using your work laptop or desktop, but a machine that is built specifically for live streaming, whether it's custom built or you bought it from like Wirecast actually has a Wirecast gear machine or whatever that's like
That's
$4,000 or
crazy.
something. So that would be at the highest level. I don't know that those are necessarily the levels. I mean, that's just one way of doing the progression. I started at level 3 and I'm still struggling with level 1, but I'm very good at level 3. So I don't know that like you have to be you have to fit that path, right?
Yeah.
So
I guess what you're saying is you don't have to graduate from mobile live streaming onto level 4. Like just choose which one works best for you. Like Claudia,
yeah, and you don't have to start with a cell phone. I mean, I wasn't comfortable starting with a cell phone. I'd never
neither did
done that.
I was just kind of like, if I'm gonna do live streaming, then I don't want my nostril hair all up in the camera. I want to have like my branded thirds, right? Like I wanted it to look good, right?
Right,
That's the
right.
whole branding thing. That's for sure.
And I think if you're doing talk and you're doing interviews and you're doing something that's informative or teaching or whatever, obviously it's easier to capture people's attention and hold it and come across serious if you're on a desktop platform or laptop versus if you're walking around with your phone. But then, if you're trying to capture something that's happening in the moment, you're not going to be wheeling a desktop out to the parade or whatever.
That's
So
very yeah, yeah. So
it's
Claudia
different tools for different reasons. I mean, a real estate agent who's showing an apartment or a house is going to use a mobile. They're not going to go to a house that they're going to be in for 20 minutes giving a tour and set up equipment and all that stuff. But if you're doing a talk show and you're going to be doing it from your home or your office in the same place at the same time every week, there's not much chance that it's going to be better doing it on a mobile than doing it on a desktop or laptop.
that's very
Where
true.
when you have more power for streaming, you have more equipment and everything. I mean, this is great. I mean, this takes great pictures, and you have 4G or good Wi-Fi. It streams very well, but it's different tools for different purposes.
That's very
So
true.
I think for a chef doing a cooking show, it could go either way, right? If it
Yeah.
was a cooking show, if it was a Q&A show, desktop is fine. It's something like
Well,
Be Live. You can
yeah.
highlight the questions and all that. But if you're actively cooking, it depends on what kind of cameras you
Well,
have. If you were going
yeah.
to use
And what are your
desktop, you'd
thoughts
need.
on Mevo, right? Because Mevo is it's like that camera that will follow you. You choose where you want it to
Right,
go. So if someone's cooking, you could have it zoom in, right? And you have Switcher Studio that all connect to your app, which are pretty cool
right.
platforms.
I mean, there's a lot you can do with mobile, and I haven't tested all those limits because I like that. I like the desktop laptop way, and I keep it simple. I mean, I plug a USB microphone, although this could also be plugged into a mixer. It has XLR cables for those who
I have
know
no
that's
idea
what
what
you,
that
that's
means.
analog, whatever. Okay, so this could be used analog or digital. So I plug it into a MacBook Pro.
Uh-huh.
I have an external webcam, but for until like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I used the webcam built into my MacBook Pro. I have headphones that I plug into my microphone to monitor my sound and to hear
Oh.
you. And that's basically it. So it's you can do a lot with a simple setup. If you have a nice webcam, you're going to get a good picture, and then you can decide: do you want to buy some software? Do you want to use one of the platforms that are out there? Are you going to go on by yourself? Are you going to do interviews or have a co-host or whatever? Which I think, depending on what you're doing, if you're going to do more of a show, and it's not something where you've got a rundown of items that you're just going to cover or whatever. In the beginning, I think it's good to either have a co-host or a guest, because this is very social, live
Yeah.
streaming, so than just broadcasting out. So if you have somebody to talk to, you get the conversation going. People in the chat feel like they can contribute, and then you're able to bring in their ideas and their thoughts and their questions, which then makes the show better, because nobody knows,
Very true.
all the answers to anything.
I know, right? Stop trying to act like you know everything. So Claudia also had she had a great question in terms of when you're live casting, should it be unannounced, or should it be scheduled out? And I was talking to you about this earlier, and how whenever I would do an impromptu live cast, I would always take advantage of the fact that Facebook notifications would go out to my friends, and that helped me out a lot. When I had scheduled it the very first time, you guys, the very first time I tried to schedule a broadcast, my guest didn't show up on time, so that totally screwed up the whole show. I felt like a huge ass because I had shared the link in all these different Facebook groups, and then I had to start a new stream key. So that was my first experience. And in this experience now, there are so many of you guys in the comments. It's ridiculous. There's 6 shares. We're getting hearts. We're getting likes. So thank you so much. That's been my experience. What are your thoughts in terms of doing it impromptu or scheduling it out?
I guess, to give the cliche consultant answer, it depends. But it really does. I mean, if your goal is to do a show and you're going to have a regular show, then obviously scheduling it, promoting it, doing it at the same time each week. That's how I did it. I didn't really go live spontaneously very much, and now I mix that in more. I think ideally there should be a mix of the two in general, but if your purpose is to be very structured and do a show at the same time, that's a good way to build a following, right? People know where to find you, when to find you, and what to expect. And so that helps you build an audience, because it just doesn't show up automatically because you go on. The advantage of obviously going on spontaneously is you can join a conversation, and by that I mean the larger public conversation about something going on in the world, about social media, about sports, about news, about business, about just sharing a passion, sharing a moment when you're out. If you are, again, coming back to like the real estate agent, you just see a house that you had to share. You didn't know it was going to be great. It's in a neighborhood that you thought you knew all the houses already. And oh my God, look at this gem. And you just go live and you're like, I got to share this. I bet you'd have a lot of people tuning in and be like, wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Like, what is he sharing?
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think, it's not TV where you have to be that regimented, but some of the principles still work, right? So I think the ideal, and again, it depends what somebody wants to do and whatever. But the ideal is, I think, to mix it up a little bit, right? To have some scheduled content where people know when and where they can find you, and you promote it and you repurpose it, and then to do some more spontaneous stuff. And that could just be going live from your cell phone. It could be going live from a platform like this, but just chatting with, your community, the people who you're friends with, people who are interested in asking you questions and things like that. It could be going live spontaneously to talk about a show you have coming up that you're excited about, or something that happened, or just to share a nugget of wisdom about your business or whatever that people who follow you might be interested in. So I think you can mix both in, and do well with a good mix like that, because it's social. So it's part broadcasting and it's part social media. And part of social media, right? Like Twitter is, we see what's going on and we comment in the moment, right?
Yes, very true.
Goes out at a certain time.
I feel like, are you seeing Claudia's comments? Because the more you talk,
no.
it segues into like what she's about to ask you. And so she's talking about, like, with social media comes haters. How do you deal with that? Like, I know when I was helping Claudia with her live stream, because she was on MasterChef and whatnot, like, of course, there's going to be some haters that popped in. And for me holding, or us holding the camera, we were able just to block people out very easily.
Right.
But if I were to do this now, you guys, if someone were to say anything negative, and please don't. I mean, I just have my desktop with me as well. I think it's more of just divide and conquer, right? Have you ever received a negative comment during your live streams?
I've had some trolls like on Blab and on one of my first buskers, and I just laughed and then I just went on with it. Now, because I didn't do the mobile phone thing for like a year, I really was not aware especially for women, how bad it is on Periscope at times. Just as a guy, you're kind of oblivious to that, right? And then you go on, you're like, this is disgusting. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I don't know if those are so much haters as they're just interrupters, disruptors. As far as people with like just being negative and mean, you're going to get that too, but you can just kind of ignore it. I mean, they're looking for attention more than they are looking for really to make an impact with what they're saying, right? They want your attention. They want you to focus on them. So if you can delete them, delete them out of the show.
Ban them from the page. Yep.
Right. And if you can't, then you just laugh and move on. Now, if they're critical but not mean, then it's an opportunity to address something and actually set the record straight or give a different view or maybe bring them around or just say thank you for your opinion, but we're discussing something else right now. And,
Like, hello, Eduardo. At the airport in Mexico City. So nice to have you on the show in the comments. We're worldwide.
You're going worldwide. That's right. International.
I know. International, baby. Okay, so when it comes to your Facebook live streams, like what do you do after you're done with your live stream? Do you repurpose it for later? Do you put it on YouTube?
I laugh because I used to be so good about I had a whole process, right? And I would get done and, I'd go back in the chat and thank people and all that kind of stuff. Thank people on Twitter, whatever. And then I would download the recording, upload it to YouTube, do the blog post, all that stuff, and have everything, the screenshot, everything done that night, right? Like, but as I've done more and more content, I started doing the updates. So then that's like 3 more days a week of broadcasting. And I also have...
It sounds like you need a virtual assistant, Ross.
I definitely do.
You do.
I'll take a recommend.
Oh, I can give you some recommendations. Yeah, for sure.
But, so I don't... That is the ideal, right? The ideal is to repurpose it, to have it ready for repurposing, to have a blog post done. Actually, it's even better. And this is, I don't do it. So
is this a ninja trick? Are you about to tell us a ninja trick like right now?
Yeah.
Pay attention, you guys.
Write your show notes before the show.
Oh, okay.
Because before the show, you're excited about like the show coming up, right? And you want to learn about the person. So you may do a little research anyway. And it's all fresh and you're promoting it. So it's like, okay, I'll get their bio and I'll put that in and whatever. It seems a little bit less burdensome than afterwards, because afterwards you're thinking, okay, what's next that I have to do? And, but I think there's loads of opportunities for repurposing live stream content. It could be short clips that you put on YouTube, short clips that you upload directly to Facebook. You can even share video on Twitter that's recorded up to, a minute or 2 minutes, something like that. I don't think a lot of people love video on Instagram, except if it's live. But, sometimes there's a time and place for putting stuff on Instagram, whatever. There's a lot you can do with it. It's just a matter of time, really.
Yeah. I have this friend where she has a video challenge group, and she invited subject matter experts on video to train her group on how to, how to do better when it comes to live video. And then she would take them down, and then now that's going to be a part of her course. So she's now packaging into this, it's like this bonus material if you weren't there in the group to begin with. So I thought that was kind of interesting on just how people are building their brand and their business through live video. There's so many opportunities.
I think if you want to build a brand and then it's not just about how many people. I think a lot of people are caught up like how many views did I get?
Yeah.
Was the show popular? Whatever. And depending on what you're doing, right? If you're looking for a job, you're trying to land a client, whatever, it's not how many people, it's do the right people find you, right? So
Yeah.
um, how many people show up live isn't nearly as important as having um, a website or YouTube channel that serves as sort of a portfolio where somebody can go look you up. Because Facebook videos are kind of the way their Facebook kind of keeps stuff after it's done is not the easiest to search. People usually don't. I know social media, very tech people will do it, right? But most people aren't going to go to Facebook and do a search like Stephanie Lou live video
Yep.
show on live streaming and brand building, right? But they will go to YouTube and look for that, or they'll just look for your channel there. Um, and the video, from what I've been told, it's already not as good quality on Facebook
Very
because
true.
something happens in the streaming quality. But I'm told that it also degrades over time on Facebook.
It degrades over time?
That's what somebody told me recently. So I don't know. So my advice, given that that could be a possibility, is download your Facebook Live stuff as quickly as possible. And then once you get it onto YouTube, it'll hold the quality there. And it's also a safety net because in case your hard drive wipes out or you lose all your storage or whatever,
Yeah.
it's going to be, YouTube's probably going to be around for a little while.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to do that, to have both YouTube as an archive, right? And then have a website where people can learn a little bit about what you're doing. They can watch a video. They can find out what the shows are about.
Yeah.
So having all those things are part of building the brand. And I know that YouTube should be a lot more than just an archive, right? If you want to do something with YouTube, there are a lot of possibilities and everything. Because I know, people who are killing it on YouTube are going to be listening to me going, this platform isn't an archive. It's a living,
It's a
breathing
community.
social
It's
media
community.
platform.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
But for people whose primary focus is elsewhere, it's still a good place to archive because people do searches on YouTube, and it also is a way to save your stuff in
That's
a
very
playlist.
true. So Cheval Jean just joined us, and he's
Hey, Siobhan.
asking, what are we using to simulcast this? And we're using OBS, you guys. We're using OBS. Chris says that he needs to start taking his Facebook videos over to YouTube. That's something that I'm working on as well. I'm trying to I'm not just taking the video and then just putting it up on YouTube. One of my good friends, Jen Beninger, she has this course called Video Unlocked, and one of her advice is that if you're going to put it up on YouTube, jump in the first 30 seconds just to say, this is what this video is about,
Right.
and then paste in the rest of your video and go from there. I would also even say that what's really worked out for me in building my business with live video is the fact that Facebook is also a behemoth when it comes to Facebook advertising.
Right.
So I could target people that are huge fans of Mari Smith, Amy Porterfield, social media marketing world. I mean, have you done any Facebook advertising with your live video at all?
I have not. I just let the people find me.
They find me and they come.
Yeah.
Well, because you're on this whole
But
speaking
there's
circuit
a
thing.
lot you can do. But there's definitely a lot you can do with Facebook advertising,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Yeah, my one friend, she's just like you, and she goes on these speaking tours, and I was like, girl, all that you really have to do is once you're done with your Facebook Live video, target people that have conference organizer or event organizer for your specific industry, and then they'll actually be asking you to come talk at their event. So something to consider, right?
That's a great tip.
Ninja
I may have
skills.
to do that.
Yeah. And if you
And
need
you
help
can
with
do
that,
that
let me know.
for $10 or $20 or whatever.
You know,
or
you could go as low as $1 a day, $5 a day. Like I have one of my videos right now with the founder of TAC on how to do Instagram content curation, and I know that social media marketing world is next week, and so I just have it going,
Right.
and I've steadily seen all of my Facebook page likes just going up, so it's been helping out a lot.
wow,
Yeah,
I haven't tried that yet.
give it a shot. Claudia's asked.
No, I did one time. Okay, one time before a show. One time I tried to boost the post on my Facebook page before the show to get more, see how that did. And they didn't even take money out of my account. It did that well.
What? Well, okay, well then we'll have to take a look at your settings because that doesn't sound right. I feel like they're a public company, so they should be more than happy to take your money.
So I don't know what happened there, but it didn't pay any dividends. But most of my promotion, easy for me to say, is done on either my personal profile or it's done on Twitter and Instagram for my shows.
That's great. That's really great. Claudia is asking, how come you can't do Facebook Live videos at the landscape? And I think you can. You just have to start it off at landscape, right? From your
When you're
mobile
going live
phone?
from your mobile phone, I
Yeah.
think you can do it either way. I think you can do it either way.
But I thought that if you start off as a portrait, it'll stay as a portrait. Like you can't just automatically change it into landscape. You have to start at landscape. Is that right? Am I making that up?
I don't go live from my mobile very much, and when I did, it was when I was on vacation, and I was showing, and I always went live portrait. I didn't go live in landscape. On Periscope, I've gone live landscape sometimes.
Gotcha. Well,
But
that's
that's just
cool.
because I've gone live like from here and just didn't feel like connecting Wirecast or whatever, but I still wanted it to have sort of a similar look and feel and whatever. And then if I want to repurpose it, it's better if it's in landscape.
Very true. Cool. Well, thank you so much. We did go over. I remember you were asking me, like, how long is this? The 30, 45 minutes? I was
Oh,
like,
I'm
it's as
I'm
long as
just
it
getting
goes.
warmed up,
I know, right? That's like the fun part. Like, you guys, Claudia's the only one that's asking questions. By all means, jump in here. Beth is in here. Irmer is in here. Eric jumped in. Claudia says that she's going to start live streaming now in landscape form. So
Awesome.
let's root for her on that. Gosh.
Yeah, and if she or anybody else in your audience has scheduled shows that they know they're going to do at a certain time, and they can send me the information. Just contact me through Livestream Universe, Facebook.com/Livestream Universe, and just message me through there and let me know that you have a show coming up, and then I'll
Yes.
send you the form and all the information, and we can get that into the update and let more people know about it.
You guys, honestly, when it comes to Ross, like he's absolutely amazing. There are a couple of times when I stopped live streaming because I just got busy with work, but he just personally would reach out to me and say, "Hey, Stephanie, do you have a show that's coming up?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, here I am, like this little tiny like live streamer." And Ross is reaching out to me, and I actually think that by you asking me, it was more motivation in terms of like, hey, you're still like in his peripheral. And if you
Right.
stop practicing, if you stop live streaming, then you'll be forgotten. So thanks for kind of pushing me.
Oh, yeah. So I'm the one you blame when you've
No,
got a show and you
that
got so
wasn't
much work done.
blaming. No, it was more motivation. I'm going to reframe that right now.
But seriously, that's the value of having a set time and day, because I can be looking at my deck for Thursday of who I'm going to have in, and then I go, wait, I don't think I got anything from Stephanie. So that's kind of what the audience does too, right? Like people
Yeah.
who are fans of your show, when you're on at a regular time, like Thursday, it was Thursday 2:30 in the East, I think, right? Okay, so people remember that and they think to show up at that time. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Well, we have one last question. It's from Cheval.
Sure.
Cheval says, why do you believe that most businesses have not adopted to live streaming? I'll let you go first.
Wow. I think first of all, it's not even on a lot of people's radar. Like they don't even know that they haven't even thought about it being an option. Those of us who've been on Blab since at least when I got on like late 2015 think that this is the whole world, right? Because like we get messages from people who live stream and watch live streams and do live streams, but a lot of the world doesn't even know what it is. And then of those people that do know, some are happy with how their business is doing, and they're very busy at it now. So they would have to drop something that's working for them, right, to do it.
That's very true.
There's other people who could probably benefit from it, but either don't know how to get started or are concerned like anybody else, right? I worked in radio for 10 to 12 years. And again, I'll figure out the number one of these days because it wasn't like consecutive.
How about I message you this time
Yeah.
and I'll be like, hey, have you figured out that number yet?
But my point being, even with a broadcasting background, being on air and everything, being in front of a camera was a whole different story because it wasn't something that I did. So imagine somebody who's never been on air anywhere and hasn't been on camera or isn't used to being in front of a camera or thinks that, the cell phone is basically just to share a moment, a birthday party, something fun, whatever. What would they say? How do they? That's the other issue.
They don't know what
I
to
think
say.
people
Yeah.
think that my business isn't interesting to everybody, and that's one of the things that I can definitely help people with is how they develop a show, content, right? That both is of interest in and of itself as a broadcast to people, which will bring people in and maintain them as viewers and listeners and whatever, but also aligns to your business. So it's like it not necessarily like has to be about how you make the widget, right? Like if you're in a factory, it doesn't have to be about how you make the widget, but it could be about the town where the widgets are made, and people come to visit that town, and then they know if they need a widget, that's where they go, or if they want to visit a historic site, that's who they reach out to, and it. I'm not giving a good example, but basically, if you have a restaurant, right? Let's say you have a restaurant, right? Well, there's any number of things related to the kind of food. If it's an ethnic food, if say it's Italian food, right? You could have a website about different types of food from different regions of Italy that you offer, so that people can go on and they can be interested in it, even if they're not looking to go out to eat that night or looking to go eat Italian food. But then they know that when they're in San Diego or they're in Los Angeles or whatever, oh, let's go for Italian food at that place with the person from the show.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, okay, maybe we pick up one customer here and there, but over time, it makes an impact. Look at some people like Chocolate Johnny. People are ordering chocolates from that.
Johnny?
John Capos. You'll meet him you'll see him at
Social Media Marketing World.
Social Media Marketing World.
Chocolate Johnny, you guys.
He's got people ordering chocolate. He's in Australia. He's got a place called Perfection Chocolates, and he's got people ordering like when they need chocolate, because it's like, who do I know? Oh, there's that guy Johnny from Periscope.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So,
That's interesting.
but he doesn't just talk about how the chocolate's made. He tells stories. He shows where he lives. He shows the factory. He shows how, he shows all different sorts of things. He has different characters.
Yeah.
He does. So, you have to entertain on one hand, but at the same time, there's got to be a little bit of a tide to bring people back to the business, right? So that's
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because Eduardo's like, you don't know Chocolate Johnny. No, I don't know Chocolate Johnny. I think if I ran around the house saying that, my husband would just be like, excuse me, what is going on? Cheval, I would also probably say that the reason why most businesses aren't even doing Facebook live streaming right now is because they think that they need high production value, that they need to spend hundreds of dollars in order to do a Facebook Live and whatnot. And then Taiba, she also said, like, what do you do if you can't make the time set for your regular live stream? How do you salvage that situation? And so I'll give my 2 cents on that, because for me, as you guys have heard, Ross had said that I used to do every Thursday, and then I started to pull back. And so when I started to realize that I wasn't being as consistent as I wanted to be, I just made another announcement that, hey, I'm just going to do this the first and, maybe the third Thursday of every month. And then from there, my viewers started to understand, because my whole thing, Ross, and you probably don't know this, but every time I do a Facebook Live, I usually get a new client. And that's like the crazy thing. So that's why I'm not always doing Facebook Lives, because probably as soon as I'm done with this, I have to onboard another client or something like that. Like, I'm at that point where
so it's working for you.
It's working for me in that sense.
So this is like a real case study of live streaming works.
Yeah.
Like, you've gotten clients off live streaming, so you don't have the time to live stream as much as you.
I know, isn't that silly? That's so
but that's
silly.
Great. It's working, right? I mean, that's the idea, right? I mean, it's fun, and we make connections, and we meet, good people and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's doing what you got on for it to do, which is connect you with people who would learn about and then take advantage of your services.
Exactly. And so how would you answer that question? If how do you rebound from having a consistent schedule and then falling off? Like how do you win back your audience? Do you have any tips for Tiba on that?
Well, I mean, I think you have to, like in your situation, you have to come to the realization that your paid work comes first, right? If there's going to be a clash between the two, that has to come first. Um, I mean, I specifically made my shows at 7. I try and do 7 in the East, 7 o'clock, because that way, if I miss something, it's my dinner time, right? So I didn't do it in the middle of the working day, so that makes it a little bit easier. But if you miss a week, you come back. If you know that you're going to need to miss a week, and you can do it as though it's planned. Like there are times where I won't have a show, and I'll just be like, we're going to be off next week. We'll be back
That's
the week
right. You
after
you do
with
make those
so and
announcements.
so and whatever. I'm not going to be live streaming next week because we'll be at Summit Live, but we'll be back the following week with updates on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we'll have Owen Video on Monday night and Roberto Blake on Thursday night. And people are like, okay, he'll be here. We can we can live without him.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that.
And we have another case study in the comments. Eric says that he usually gets clients from the replays. And so again, you guys, if you decide to do live videos, if you're a marketer, consultant, any of that good stuff, you could also layer on top of that your Facebook advertising because that can always help you out. And then if you're building your YouTube channel, there's Google AdSense as well, so you could go ahead and build that as well. Alex Khan asked delivery service to order food to don't stop streaming. Okay, I don't know what that meant. Sorry, Eduardo. Okay, cool. So time check for you, Ross. I've been picking your brain and we've just been going at it for like almost an hour now. It's been so much fun. Do we want to answer one more question or do you got to go?
Sure, it's up to you. It's up to you.
Well, let's see. So I have a girls' happy hour that I have to run to. So we'll do one more. Let's see if anyone is going to post anything else. I'm banking on Claudia or maybe Taiba. Cheval John says, I know that I'll be more consistent now with my live streaming shows and podcasts due to major transition. Well, that's good, Cheval.
Right.
Keep at it. It is one of those things where I do live video and Ross, you probably do live video because it's fun. And as soon as it starts to become work and dreadful, then we probably might not do it anymore.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And Cheval, by the way, has a show called What's the Word? And I was lucky enough to be a guest on his show. So if he's still listening, thanks, Cheval. Appreciate it. I actually have it on my list of shows on my website.
Mm-hmm. Cheval says, what's your favorite platform for live streaming?
Facebook Live has to be because that's where I am all the time. But I want to do more on YouTube.
Have you tried YouTube Live?
YouTube. I went live once using Wirecast to do an update. I did my update on Facebook, and I'm like, well, what the heck? Let's try it. So I had to change a few settings around, and then I did it on YouTube, and it was fine. But I mean, it's just that I know if I go on Facebook, there's going to be people who get notified and will jump on and chat with me, and that's what I enjoy. So if I go live on YouTube, I'm starting again, and I think it's worth it. But I think maybe it's time to stop using it just as an archive and maybe start posting some recorded content that's, I don't know, created for YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Like you had mentioned, you introduce it in the first couple of seconds and you say, coming up, we'll talk about whatever. Maybe I take a 3-minute clip or a 2-minute clip from a show. Maybe I do something about a product I use or a service or something like that and do a review or an unboxing or things that people go to YouTube for. Oh, I could totally
see you doing an unboxing, especially with your Archon mounts and all of that great stuff. So Whitney's one of her question is, so should I pick a day and time and see what happens, or is there a way to strategize that? So Whitney, you probably didn't catch the part where Ross was saying that when he's doing his TV guide for live streaming, everyone is usually trying to live stream Thursday to Sunday?
Like Wednesday at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., and 9 p.m., and then Thursday evening seems to be the crowded times. I mean, I kind of looked like when I started on Blab, I kind of wanted to. I wanted to pick a time that's convenient for you, right? Pick
Yeah.
when does it work for you? When will you enjoy doing it? When will it not feel like a burden? But then as you consider times, take a look around and just see, if you don't know anybody who's doing it, then don't worry about it. If you have good friends who live stream, then if you can, maybe don't do it at the same time they do,
Oh, I remember this one time. I think I wanted to have my live stream at a certain time, and you're just like, no, 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 no. That's my time. And I was like,
I,
oh, I'm sorry. I was like, excuse me. Okay. That is your time.
I never, I love promoting what other people do, but there's only one pet peeve I have, and that is if I promote all your shows and you can pick any time during the week, perhaps don't go live Monday night at 7 p.m.
So, Whitney,
Eastern.
Monday night at 7 p.m. That's the time that you got to do.
Basically, I own 7 p.m.
Pretty much.
Eastern. No.
Pretty much. Don't get
Monday,
blacklisted.
sometimes Thursday. No, I don't care. But I look. Try to go when it works for you, and don't worry about when other people are doing it. Just worry about when it works for you, and the audience that's meant to find you will find you at that time.
Nice. So Deanne says, what's your recommendation? A carefully scripted and timed show or not? I say I usually just have like bullet points of what I want to cover in terms of like what's the hook. But if it goes over 30 minutes, which it has right now,
Right.
but if it's providing a lot of value, I don't mind going over. What are your thoughts? Do you feel like people need to stick to a certain time or
It
no?
depends what you're doing, right? If you're doing well, I think it helps to maybe keep it to an hour. But then, it depends what you're trying to do, because if you get a whole wave of people who come in and you feel like staying on, there isn't another show that your channel has to go to. So if you want to stay on and, make the most of that time with people who are just joining, that's totally up to you. What was the question again? Sorry.
Should you stick to a script or should it just be improv?
Oh, script. It depends. If you're teaching something, like there's some people who get on one-on-one and they're almost doing like a webinar, or I'm going to teach you how to use. If you need to have some notes to do that, you should have some notes to do that. I think for an interview show, you may want to script the introduction in the beginning so you feel comfortable, so you have something to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
I will often have my guest's bio on a memo kind of thing in my computer, and then often not need to look at it, but I have
Yeah.
it there just in case. My first show live streaming, I listed out the questions that I wanted to ask.
Oh, I did
And
too.
then since then, I really don't use any. I mean, even my updates, I do them off the top of my head, and I just let the cards.
Yeah.
I'll see like the cards. I'll see like your picture, and I'll go like, "Oh, Stephanie Lou's coming up with lights,"
Yeah.
and then I'll look at something. So I think, but it takes time to get there, right? But you don't want to script the whole thing all the time, because then you become so used to using the script that it becomes a transition not to, right?
Very true. And then so Claudia is asking, so in terms of live streams, to get more views, would you recommend, because she gets more views on her personal page versus her public page, which one should she do first? And so I think this is more of kind of like a two-prong approach, right? I feel like if you say, Claudia, that you're going to do your show every day, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Right? Then it becomes a habit, and then people know. And one of the benefits of live streaming from your page is that don't they get like an option where they could click a button that says subscribe to notifications whenever this person goes live? Isn't that right, Ross?
I don't know if they can do that from personal too, or
Yeah, I think you can only do it on your business.
I never subscribe or unsubscribe from anybody. Like, I like their page if I like, but I never subscribe. Like, whatever I'm supposed to see, I see. If I'm not, I don't know, because I see everybody. Like, I get notifications for everybody when they go live, so
Yeah.
I'm happy with how it is. But I think the advantage of going live on your page is if you want to have a history. If your page is a real business page and you want to have a history for your business, and people are looking for your business who aren't connected to you on Facebook, and they find your page, if you list your page on your website, whatever, then people can discover all your videos, even if you don't
Agreed.
get as many views. So you get people who are looking to do business with you will will more likely find you on your business page. And you get additional analytics. You can boost it with Facebook advertising, as Stephanie mentioned. So there's advantages, but definitely if you go live on your personal, you're going to get friends who you haven't talked to in years who'll get that notification, who might never see your posts in their news feed. So I usually get more people, I think, on my personal, but if Livestream Universe becomes a business that,
If, what do you
people
mean
are going to
if?
look
What is this if? Livestream
down the
Universe
line.
is a business. Dude, Ross, you've been
Right,
like
right, right.
speaking
But
all
I'm
over the
saying,
place.
like, if I'm gonna, like, let's say it was something that I was gonna sell one day. You're gonna sell your business or whatever. Well, all the stuff you have in your personal profile doesn't really do you much good.
Agree.
But all the followers you've acquired, all the content you have, all the history you have, all that video and stuff, all speaks to there's something more developed that has more value. So that's
Agree.
that's why I hesitated to say that because I'm not selling anything, but that's just like, if you have a business, it's got to be something that you think of, right? Like if you ever
Yeah.
want to sell your business or whatever, then everything you've done on your Facebook page becomes part of your history and part of the content that somebody can inherit and has some value.
Yeah, and just going back to Claudia, just because I know her situation as well. Like if you, Claudia, if you're building your live stream videos on your business page, you get all of these interactions. It has this compounding effect. You could do the Facebook advertising. You could target TV producers, casting directors, all of that stuff. I mean, just
Right.
imagine the possibilities that you could do.
And then what you could do is you could edit out like the best 3 minutes of the show and upload that natively with a little bit different description or whatever, or even with the same description, like highlights of my show last night or whatever, directly to your personal. And then, in the post, say, and catch all my shows on my Facebook page. If you haven't liked it, like the Facebook page to get notified, whatever. And then that's kind of how you do it. You kind of use that to tease amongst your friends and then bring them over to your page.
Yeah. Okay. The very last
Awesome.
question, and then we'll jump off. William says,
Okay.
Ross, how are you streaming this? That's from William Slace Jr. And you guys, this is OBS. This is my
Yep.
setup. I
This is
pulled
all
in.
Stephanie. I just call into Skype and talk. It's
Yeah,
good being
I
guest.
pulled it in via Skype. I know it's so much easier, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is different from BeLive. BeLive is great. I love that platform. It's pretty turnkey. I use OBS just because I could have the bottom thirds. I could have my Facebook Live button. I could pull in Ross. But yeah. Well,
Awesome.
Ross, thank you so much for this. This has been fun. We got to do this again. We have to do this again.
I can't wait till you're on my show in May.
Hey, I know, right? By then,
So
I'll have.
thanks so much. Thanks so much. Really, I love what you're doing, and I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for all the questions. And
Yeah,
we
so many
are
great
going-
questions.
I know. We're going to be out now. I'm going to play the outro music.